everyone, welcome to Versus MTG. Today we are playing Gruul Midrange in Modern, and we are going to start with a quick deck check. If you have already seen this, you can skip it and go directly to the gameplay. As a mid-range deck, we are trying to play, for the most part, fair magic. This means that our cards don't have weird interactions, and we also interact with our opponent and try to win by using efficient and good cards. There are other mid-range decks in the format that try to do the same thing, but what stands out for Gruul Midrange is his 1-drops. Here we have Arbor Elf that can untap forest, Utopia Sprawl that let us choose a color to then enchant a forest that now is able to produce 1 green mana and 1 of the chosen color. And finally, Birds of Paradise that can tap for any color. What we are trying to do here is to ramp our mana curve so we are able to have access to 3 or possibly 4 mana on turn 2. Typically, the higher the cost of a card, the better it should be. And what we are trying to do here is to cast better cards than our opponent before they have access to the equally good cards. There is a nice interaction between Arbor Elf and Utopia Sprawl, because Arbor Elf can untap any forest and Utopia Sprawl must enchant a forest. What we end up with is a pair of cards that together are able to produce 4 mana on turn 2. But what are the efficient and good cards that we are trying to get by getting more mana? I divided them into 2 groups. First are the cards that let us have card advantage, like Seasoned Pyromancer, let us discard 2 to then draw 2. The good thing about this card is that let us get rid of things that we don't really want in earlier stages of the game, and also let us draw 1 or 2 cards in later stage of the game when we don't have many cards in hand, because he doesn't require for you to have the 2 cards to discard to be able to draw 2 more. But that's not all. This guy also creates 1/1 elementals for each non-land discarded when it enters the battlefield, and you can also pay 5 to red and 3 generic to exile it from the graveyard and create 2 1/1 elementals. This guy is actually pretty great. With ramp, you get potentially 4 power on the board by turn 2 and also get the possibility to fix your hand. Then we have Bloodbraid Elf that was considered so good at one point that had to be banned. Luckily for us, it's not anymore. It's a 3/2 haste creature with Cascade, what means that we get to play another random card with converted mana cost 3 or less for free. We also have Chandra that gives us versatility. We can choose to kill something doing 4 damage or play the top card of our library, and if it's not a land, we get to do 2 damage to our opponent. And also, it's able to generate 2 red mana if we need to cast something. The ultimate let us do 5 damage for every time we cast something, and actually it's not that rare that we get to use it. And finally, we have a new addition to this deck, Elder Gargoyle, that is a 6/6 for 5 that each time he attacks or blocks, we get to choose if we want a 3/3 beast, draw a card, or gain 3 lives. What makes this card great is the same thing that makes Chandra great, the versatility. We have a huge creature that can help us come back from games. The second group of efficient and good cards that I was talking about are first Lightning Bolt, that is just a really good removal. It's versatile, can help us get rid of creatures and play walkers. Then we have a relative new addition to this deck, Bone Crusher Giant, that if we get to remove something with his adventure mode, it's like actually drawing an extra card. And finally, Glorybringer, that helps us get rid of creatures, and thanks to his flying and haste abilities, can be a surprise factor that can just make the difference between winning or losing. Then there is another group of cards that are played in this deck that it used to be the main focus, but now has become, in my personal opinion, a support strategy rather than the main goal of the deck. These are the Land Disruption group. We have here Blood Moon and Magus of the Moon that turn all non-basic lands into mountains, and of course Pillage that can either destroy an artifact or a land. The goal of this group is to slow our opponent or directly just make them miserable and not able to play Magic because they can't cast a thing. These are especially strong when we are on the play and get to cast one of these on turn 2. There are various lists of this deck out there, and the number of Blood Moons and Magus of the Moon and Pillage can change. I think it depends on what the player feels is more important at the current meta. Sometimes it's more important to have a blocker or a creature that's able to attack in the form of Magus of the Moon, but because he's a creature with just 2 toughness, it's really easy for most of the decks in the format to get rid of him. But also, if you only play Blood Moons, you will have games in which you draw multiple copies of it, and you probably won't be very happy for that. So it's really up to you to find what's best. And finally, we have our Graveyard Hate group. Of course, we here play 2 Scavenging Ooze that when you read it, it don't really seem too scary, but when you play against it, you get to see its power. It's a 2/2 for 2 that can exile anything from a graveyard by paying 1 green, and when it's a creature, you get to put 1/1/1 counter on it, and also you gain a life. And we are playing 3 copies of Clotis. This card have really impressed me. The 2 damage and 2 life that it gives each turn for exiling a non-land card adds up really fast, and also the possibility to produce mana can make the difference between finding the card that you need with Seasoned Pyromancer and casting that winning Lightning Bolt. We need this card, especially for cards like Euro, Snapcaster Mage, Dredge, Lurus, Red and 6, Mystic Sanctuary, and actually I could keep going on and on. Having a way of exiling cards from the graveyard in the main, it's a good thing, especially when you have the mana for it. For games to entry, the possibilities that our mana dork will die increases, making us a bit slower, but also for our opponent it's sometimes a choice between letting us have the ramp and just wait the real threat to kill that. We struggle against big creatures because our removal can at most do 4 damage with Chandra and Glorybringer, so we usually need to win before our opponent gets something like Death Shadow on the battlefield. In that case, what we can do is just go wide on the board and chump block a few things, and then attacking in hope that's enough damage to kill them. What we have in our sideboard is first the Graveyard Hate group in the form of Grafdigger's Cage and Relic of Progenitus, and as I mentioned before, there are lots of cards that care about the graveyard at the moment in the format, so it's important to have some sort of Graveyard Hate. I've seen a few lists that play different combination of these cards, but as always I consider that it's up to you to find the right number, because it will always depend on the current meta. Then we have the Life Gaining group, help us against decks that try to kill us fast. Obstinate Bailout can also be good against cards like Liliana of the Veil and Croxa and other discarding effects. Weather of the Storm is especially good against Bliss, Mono Red Prowess and Burn. Then we have the Spells Matter group. The ability of Arasta to create chump blockers is amazing. Also we play 2 copies of Cinderbinds that does 1 damage for each non-creature spell that our opponent casts, and that damage with Clothes and Chandra on the battlefield can really adds up. Also, if we are against a heavy artifact deck, we get to destroy 1 of them and make 2 damage. Also, we have Hunger of the Gods that can help clean the board against heavy creature decks like Elves, Blitz, Mono Red Prowess. Of course, we need to be very conscious of this because most of our creatures can get destroyed by it, so you need to get the timing right. And 1 copy of Chandra Awakened Inferno that can help us against control, against 1 big creature or 1 planeswalker, and also can help gain the win slowly with her +2 ability. Few final comments. Especially with this deck, there are a lot of variants that you can find, and you may want to consider playing a copy of Questing Beast or maybe Renan 6 in the main. But like I said before, really there is not a perfect form of the deck because the metagame is always changing. And well, That's Gruul Midrange. Now, let's see it in action. Well, of course this is a horrible hand. We don't have a red source, we don't have a mana dork. We're going to send that back, and that's a horrible hand. Now we're going with this 5, I suppose. Cassim can go down, and I don't know, here we could keep Magus of the Moon or Pillage, but not both. I think Pillage is more situational than Magus of the Moon, so let's go with that. Well, this is obviously a terribly slow hand, so let's hope this is not something like Burn. Well, it's Mail, and they are trying the new cards. Ruin Crab. 0-3 landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent mills 3 cards. Well, let's play in Stomping Ground, and we are going to kill that right away with this Lightning Bolt. That has to go down. With mill, usually this is a race. There's different builds of mill, and it can go either way. The first option is that you go fall into the mill plan and you don't have removal or control things in your deck. Or the other way is that you can go something like 50-50. You get a few removals and a few mill cards. And I don't know what this is about, but from what I've seen right now, it seems to be more on the mill side. So let's play this Scavenging Ooze. I think it's better than Arbor Elf right now. It can grow bigger, but it's possible that our opponent is going to have something like Fatal Push. But if it dies, it's okay. We still have Magus of the Moon. That can help us to just deny them the possibility of have a Black Source. Well, not anymore. He's casting Frying Sanity, so he's going full with the mill plan. So what we have to do right now is to kill them first. Blood is an excellent draw. I guess that we are just going to play a land and play Magus of the Moon. Maybe it can help us deny something here, so let's do it. Attack with the Ooze and then just pass the turn. Bloodchief Thirst, that's also a new card. Destroy target creature or place worker with converted mana cost 2 or less. And there goes our Scavenging Ooze. It can be kicked for 3 to destroy anything. So we mill 1, opponent passes the turn, then we draw another Scavenging Ooze. I guess here we should play first Arbor Elf. So Frying Sanity, we just don't mill a thing and pass turn. Opponent has 3 cards in hand and he's going to push the Arbor Elf. Yeah, that seems about right. Frying Sanity, we have to mill 1 card and we draw Spikefield. I guess this can help us. We can now play it just as a regular Mountain because of Magus of the Moon. I guess we should do that and play the Arbor Elf. The Bloodbraid Elf, I mean. That's good. With that on the battlefield, we can kill them next turn. We have 5 damage with Bloodbraid Elf and Magus of the Moon. That's 10 for next turn. plus the 4 of Bone Crusher Giant, we should be okay. If we don't get killed this turn, remember that they have Frog Sanity. If they cast that new card, Meddling, with Kicker, I think we just die. But I don't remember the Kicker. Can you cast it for 5? It's 6. I think we are okay. And let's go to game 2. So against Mill, what do we want? We want to keep them fast. That's the main goal here. So I guess we are going to bring Cindervines so we can kill their artifact. I don't remember the name. Mesmeric Orb. Yeah, that one. Maybe Elder Gargarot, it's too slow. Of course we want Zarasta. Clothes seems too slow here also. And we need one more pillage. I don't know, it can be good, I guess. I think really Clothes is not that good here. Yeah, I think I'll go with that. Yeah, I was thinking about taking out Glorybringer, but the fact that it has haste makes it really good, and also it can take a crab from the board. Yeah, let's do it like that. Well, 4 lands, Belbrea of Village, we're going to send that back. No lands, we're going to send that back. No lands again, and we have to keep this. And I guess we just send back the slow things. Chandra, Bloodbrail, and here I guess, yeah, Bone Crusher Giant doesn't make that much of a difference. It could have killed a crab, but I think the power of Scavenus and Magus of the Moon is bigger. So let's play a fetch land and say go. They crack the Vista. I think they... okay, that's an island. Watery Grave, and they shock themselves to 17. Glimpse of the unthinkable. So we mill a few things. So we have to forget to fetch, obviously. Let's do it now. Maybe just a regular mountain. Play a Scavenus. I think that I should have just chucked myself for a stomping ground. My life total doesn't really make a difference in this matchup. Another glimpse of the unthinkable. We are up to 33 cards in our library. Well, this turn we get to cast Magus of the Moon. Attack for 2. So let's play a forest. Attack. Opponent down to 15, and we get to play the Magus of the Moon. Hopefully he doesn't have a basic swamp, so we can protect our creatures from Fatal Push. Visions from Beyond, so opponent up to 8 cards in hand. Place an island, and Profane Memento. Whenever a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, you gain 1 life. I haven't seen that in Milk decks. And another one, I don't know, it doesn't seem so good. Well, now we get to grow Ooze a bit bigger. With your spec field, that can be good. So should we play the elf? Let's attack first with 4. Let's grow this guy up a little bit. Exiling Clothes. And no, Let's keep that. Let's cast Arbor Elves and say go. With Arbor Elves we also have the possibility of attack for one more. Another Visions from Beyond. 8 cards in hand for our opponent, so that's a lot. He's supposed to do something now. Maybe he's just getting mana screwed because of the Magus of the Moon and just getting a bunch of black cards. Fray Insanity. We still have 31 cards in our library, so we don't mill, we draw, and we draw a land. We have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 damage. So let's exile Arbor Elf, who's up to 4, and exile Abyss of Paradise, who's up to 5. Well, we just needed one more to kill them with a spike health, but I don't think we die this turn. Opponents draw and plays Hedron Crab. I think that's too late. Ruin Crab now. He just drew that. He drew that too late. Now it's just our game. And also we got Chandra. Let's do that and see if he dies. But I think this is game. Let's go with the first one and say no, and then we win. Good game. Thank you guys for watching. Let's see you next time.